Go!
Hello everyone, welcome to Practical GCP. So in today's topic, I would like to talk about how to monitor your deployments using the audit logs provided by many Google services on Google Cloud. So why do I want to do this kind of things? So as your team grows, right, there's the number of applications you manage and deploy will increase, and it can be quite significant. So if you're managing, let's say, like 100 or 200 different kind of deployment services, things will go wrong, right? Sometimes when something is broken, you have alerts gets triggered, and then you don't know what is causing it. And majority of the time is actually caused by someone actually pushed the bad deployments, right? But how do you actually know that has happened? So this is why it's very important to actually monitor your deployment and use that insight to drive your debugging and investigation process, right? Rather than trying to chase the ghost. So in this, in today's session, I'll cover first of all how to use the audit log to specifically focus on two Google services, which is Cloud Run and Cloud Function. So those are probably very widely used and also quite straightforward to actually extract the audit log. So I'll show you how to actually get that information out, and then what kind of information you can get from the audit logs, and then to plug into deployment monitoring. And then once you have the logs, you need to get into BigQuery in order to plug into the BI tools or dashboard to be able to give you the ability to monitor your services, to visualize it, right? And then that's where the insights gets really useful. So when you see, you can correlate your deployments with the error. You can have one dashboard that shows you all of that information in one place. So you can see, oh, this service had a deployment and this service also has an issue. Then you will know, right, where you should jump into straight away, rather than trying to find, okay, what is causing this problem, right? Okay, let's crack on. So in this example today, I've created, you can see here, there's 4 different cloud functions. They're just dummy deployments, right? And then I've also got 2 Cloud Run services created in here. So what I've done is I've been kind of playing around with these services, trying to make some changes, try to update the services just to generate some activities right throughout the day. And then what you can see is, from, if you look at this, right, so behind the scenes, whenever you, as a user, right, or as a service account, when you interact with those services, it generates audit logs on activities. So those activities, as you can see here, is very kind of verbose. I'll show you a bit more structured way to look at this, but these is part of kind of all of the logs that gets generated in this case is the last hour or so. So you can, in here, you can actually search the services you've got, and this is very powerful because you can use this filter to search. Let's say this is Cloud Run, right? If you search for Cloud Functions, then you can see here you've got, I've got that this is from previous session, and today I've created 4 functions, and there's many other things, right? So when you apply, you can see that these are all the audit logs is generated, right? And then give you all these detailed insights for you to be able to do something with it. And one of the really useful things in here is that once you've created the filter in here, you can under more actions create a log sync. This is where you can say, I'm just gonna type in some random stuff so you can see how the log sync can be generated. So in this particular case, so what the log sync can be used for is basically it's a sync, right? So what it means is you get the logs and then you chuck the data into somewhere, right, as the log happens. So the sync is very powerful because this data, right, is not some kind of a batch load job and then put the data into somewhere. This is a streaming job. So as soon as the log entry is generated, it will put the log entry in another storage, which could be one of those things. So the one that we will talk about today is BigQuery, because BigQuery is the one that gives you the majority or the power to be able to visualize, right, the deployments we've got in here. But there are also many other options that you can chuck into the cloud storage bucket. You can check into the pub subtopic. So this is very interesting one. So in one of the future sessions, I'll also talk about how you can use the pub sub to even unlock more powerful use cases with event subscribers. But you get the idea, right? So if we've got the BigQuery data set, you can choose whatever you want, and then always tick partition tables in here. Obviously, you can deploy this thing with either the gcloud CLI or with Terraform, right? So I'm just kind of illustration purposes, just show you how you can do it in the user interface. And then you can see this is already populated in here for you, that you can basically create the sync, right? And then that, once you've done that, in this particular case, I've already created 2 log syncs. As you can see, this one for Cloud Function and one for the Cloud Run. They both go into the same data set, which kind of put this sync in here. So the what actually happens subsequently is when, if you look at this, right, this is whenever some log is generated, it will in a second or so chuck the data into this one of those tables. So as you can see here, right, in activity, this is the thing that we're looking for. There's different kind of events depending on how the, whether it's a system generated event, whether it's error logs generated by the applications. But what we particularly focus on today, the thing we care about, are the activities that are generated by, something has triggered this thing to happen on the particular service. So you can see that this is all kind of nested data, because BigQuery support nesting, right? This is really powerful. As you can see, you can expand it in here to see, this is the audit logging payload. You've got all sorts of informations from all the way from the type of the method this has been triggered. So it's kind of, in this case, for Cloud Run, it's replacing the service, the results name, the location of the resources, and then more importantly, you've got the authorization details. Here you can see like who was there in there, and then but then subsequently you also get this kind of stuff, right? You get the request JSON and response JSON. So this has all of the details of everything that's after this. So what you've actually requested the service to do, and then what actually happened, right, from the service response. So this data, once you unpack it, is extremely powerful. So here I've got both the Cloud Run and Cloud Functions. So what I've done is I've created 2 views in here. So because obviously you need to do a bit of data modeling, right, before you can use that data. Otherwise, it's just a bit of a mess. So in here, what I've done is for Cloud Run. So Cloud Run has a lot more information in the audit log than Cloud Functions. So because it's a relatively verbose service, it has a lot functionalities. You can see here I've got the results type, service name, and many other things. And you can see here is I've actually unpacked the response JSON into the pass JSON function gives you a JSON type. So this JSON type is a new BigQuery data type that you can do this kind of dot notation reference, which is extremely powerful, but it's currently in preview, right? So for this kind of dashboarding things, if it's in preview, it doesn't really matter, right? But if you use it for some production use cases that is really critical, you might want to use this only when it goes into GA, right? So I basically converted this into and unpacked the specific things I'm interested in. So later on when I show you the dashboard, this will all come back and make a lot more sense. But for right now, you can see some of these you can see the service revisions, and then whether it's ready, and then whether it's the latest version, and then because Cloud Run also supports canary deployment and splitting the traffic, so you can actually do like a 50-50 split or 40-60 split in the traffic, so you can see all of that's happening in the audit logs, which is really powerful, right? I'll show you that later on. The Cloud Function one unfortunately doesn't have a lot of information, right? But what it does give you is at least you can see when it was done, right? There's timestamps and the results type, the name of the service, and then the method. So these would then give you the information you need to be able to monitor the deployment, right? So now let's have a look at what it looks like. It took me like 10 minutes to create this dashboard in Data Studio. So I've called it serverless deployments, right, in this particular case. And what you're basically getting is, you can see throughout the day, I've done some deployments here, some changes here, right, for this different kind of services. So this is really useful because you can have the timestamp of when something has happened. Below here, because Cloud Run has a lot more verbose information, as I mentioned, so you can even see here. So this is ordered in descending order. You can see initially I deliberately made it ingress setting to all, but then I've changed to internal, flip it around with the load balancing, and then changed everything back into internal, right? You can see also here you've got the revision, which revision it was the latest, which one is the ones that have been created, which one is ready. Then the traffic split percentage right here, you can see one of the services I've actually here in with the hello service, I tried a 50-50 split in here as well, right? And then on the right you have the URL of the service. But if you look through this, you can see okay exactly what has happened on the service during the deployment and the hash associated with that deployment. So this is really useful. So if something is broken, let's say at this particular point, right, this purple bar, and then you can see, hang on a second, I've got this service breaking. You can mix the other dashboard of the service traffic, and you can see, oh, hang on, that there's a correlation between the time of this deployment and the issues with the alerts that's been generated after the service is broken. So it will narrow down the problem to a much smaller scope, right? And you can see here below you have all the cloud function ones. It's quite limited information, but I think the most useful thing of this is you can actually see the correlation of all of the different kind of deployments. So keep in mind, Auditlog isn't just for these two, right? It isn't just for Cloud Function, Cloud Run. It depends on how you configure many other services. It's not just for the serverless stuff, but also the managed services. I think there are quite a lot of things you can do on the GKE cluster as well, on the audit logs. But the other things are very useful. Let's say if you have a Terraform deployment on your infrastructure to add a pub-sub topic, if you create a subscription, if you change a subscription, you change retention, those things are all the things that you want to know, right? And you can create quite a verbose dashboard to have the correlation of, let's say if someone suddenly changed some stuff, right, on pub-sub, and then you suddenly lost something, then there was deployment happened specifically on pub-sub, and that's probably most likely the cause of the issue, right? Yeah, so I think that's the end of today's sessions. Hopefully that was useful. I think I found this quite useful. The more of these you can aggregate together to visualize these kind of things to help you, monitoring and debugging your systems when something's broken. Yeah, hopefully you find it useful. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Go out!